Hello, everybody. Thanks for joining us again. Tonight is a very special Art of Activism. We are part of a larger symposium that's been happening this week on the arts and environmental justice. I want to start welcoming in our guests today. We've got Carmen and Jay, and we're going to have Raasin with us as well. Hey, guys. Carmen and Jay are from the Mosaic Workshop. Raasin is also the CEO and founder of Raasin in the Sun. And as we keep learning and growing as an organization, before we start talking, I just want to make a land acknowledgement for tonight. We want to let you know that we acknowledge that the land on which we live and labor was stolen from the Lenni Lenape peoples and their descendants who survived and remained in the homeland. And in addition to those in the diaspora who were forcefully removed as far as Oklahoma, Wisconsin, and Canada, and are still marginalized even in the city of brotherly love. Registration to the symposium was free today and for this week, but please, we hope you can find these links to tribal governments and indigenous organizations on the Lenape land, Philadelphia, in our chat, and consider donating and learning more about the spirit of reparations and reciprocity. So I hope you all have a moment to do that and learn and grow with us. So I just want to say it's so nice to see all of your faces. I've been really excited to have this chat with you. Oh, Raasin. I know that you've had double duty today. You've been on a couple of panels dropping some knowledge, haven't you?
Trying to, girl. I'm sorry I'm late. And
No. You are not late at all. You are right on time.
Awesome. Hey, everybody.
I love that hat. Oh my goodness.
Thank you. This is
very stylish.
A vintage Charm School vintage on 11th Street here in Austin. Picked this hat out. You know, it's old as heck. So I just thought I'd give it a little charm and wear it today. So
as long as you drop me by that when I visit Austin,
okay.
It'll be okay.
Absolutely.
I just like to do very light introductions because I want you to be able to tell everybody who you are and what you do. And then we're going to jump right into, because we have so much ground to cover tonight. So the first person I see on my screen, I'm just going to just jump at it. It's Carmen. So Carmen, go, throw it down.
Yeah. Hi, I'm Carmen Dunhill. My pronouns are she, her. So I'm just giving a little background description. So I'm a brown Latina woman. I have long dark hair, brown skin, and brown eyes. I'm wearing a blue denim shirt, sitting in front of a wooden wall and surrounded by plants and art. I'm a visual artist, muralist, community organizer, and co-founder of the Mosaic Workshop here in Austin. Founded it alongside with Jay. So I'll let you go next.
Thank you, Carmen. I'm Jay Muzacz, the other half of the Mosaic Workshop. I also want to take time to respect and acknowledge the Humanos, Lipan Apache, Comanche, and Tonkawa tribes historically in this area. I'm originally from Houston, Texas, but I've been in Austin over more or less the last 20 years. I'm wearing a black Mosaic Workshop t-shirt, cap, I have glasses on, and some Mosaic artworks of spray cans in the background. I'll toss it over to my partner, Raasin.
Thank you guys. You're super awesome and very honored to be on the panel with you guys today. My name is Raasin McInstosh, CEO, founder of Raasin in the Sun, a art and environmental initiative organization who dives deep into the community and tries to inspire, unite, and restore these communities through these art and environmental initiatives. I am wearing a cowboy hat, vintage, like I just told Ginger, light green and blue button-up shirt, golden locks, and I am penny colored African-American female. Glad to be here today.
Glad for everybody to be here. And I'm going to head and ID myself. You know what? I love that we're doing this now. Because no, seriously. And like I said before, like it is a part of learning and growing and realizing that your audience is very varied. We have a lot of diversity. And so like, as I've been watching the symposium, I thought to myself, how come I've never done that before? How come I've never ID'd myself? So let me go ahead and do that. Like an African-American woman, my name is Ginger Rudolph. I'm sitting here in my living room with plants behind me. I have caramel brown skin. And in the background is my beloved record collection. And I have a couple of art prints behind me that are by a group named The Far Side. So thank you everybody for reminding me to do that. And hopefully I will remember moving forward. But let's have a discussion about all the wonderful work that you guys are doing there in Austin. I just want to just jump right at the fact that you're all using your platforms to tell stories of your community, and to insert yourself into a narrative, one that's always been there, but I think a lot of times gets overlooked when it comes to endowments, grants, just thinking about people of color in the arts in general. I think last week when we all met and just had a rehearsal, I talked about being at Austin and not knowing that there was a burgeoning art scene, not knowing that your organizations existed. So I was very happy to meet you and know that when I visit, I have some place to go, you know. So please tell me a bit more about how you guys started your organizations and why you did so.
Okay, I can start it for us on behalf of the Mosaic Workshop. A little more background about myself. I'm a muralist and educator, really about 20 years of professional experience in both of those parallel fields. I, like a lot of suburban kids in Houston, got into graffiti and tagging when I was in high school, quite honestly, and grew up, surrounded by hip hop culture and the visual art form that is graffiti that came out of that. So I was definitely painting where I wasn't supposed to for a few years in the beginning, but over time I gradually got my skills up. I kind of appreciated the art as well as the culture and try to promote it that way, and then started to do painting and murals. And so kind of coming out of that, fast forward 20 years and kind of building in the education element that I've been an English teacher abroad for a few years. I've been an art educator in Austin for almost a decade, and a lot of various mentorship as well as city-funded after-school programs, largely for inner-city youth. Kind of putting those two things together with the Mosaic Workshop and this newfound passion for the media, that Carmen and I can actually work together on these monumental public art projects, producing murals that will outlive and outlast a lot of the painted murals that kind of go up and get whitewashed or go up and fade, etc. We can make these mosaics that are going to last a lifetime. And so that, I think, has an inherent power. We can also be very inclusive with who we're making the work with and for. And I think there's just a lot of a groundswell of support for what we've been doing over really just the last 3 years with the workshop. We're that new, but we're gaining a lot of traction because we're both bringing our 20 plus shared years of experience in that regard, and making public art and teaching as well. So I think the education aspect for me is integral, because like we can make pretty pictures all day long, but I'd rather teach 10 other folks how to make that artwork themselves. And that's a very liberating thing when you can make community impact. You can make artwork that has an impact in the community, and when you can do things together. So we try to model all these shared values in terms of like solidarity with the community in all the projects that we do. And like offering low-cost workshops and free workshops a lot of times is just one way to do that. And that kind of leads me to just take a quick moment to thank Mural Arts for kind of taking us under their wing over this last year and leading into 2022 with the Mural Arts Institute Environmental Justice Initiative and the capacity building, because we are totally increasing our capacity to do that work here in Austin. So that's kind of what brought us into even closer collaboration with Raasin and Raasin in the Sun. We've already worked together on a few projects here locally, but we kind of came together for this project, let our powers combine, and now like take it into the next level thanks to Mural Arts. So from there, I could definitely let Raasin go. We could go on and on about what we do, but I definitely want to hand over to Raasin so she could talk about what Raasin and Son's been up to.
And you know what, Jay, we can go on and on. We know you can go on and on.
Sorry.
But to piggyback, and I know Carmen can kind of chime in too with how she got started, but we all have a shared, our journey in terms of, we all had something to do before we did the thing, right? And so I feel like coming from Houston, my dad being an artist, woodworker, he would paint signs for the community barbershop and build stages for music and community to come together. He always exposed me at a young age before I got into actually my athletic career, which I'm a former Olympian and, went to All-American at UT in track and field. But just even before that, I was already immersed a lot into the arts and the community in Houston. And so when I came over to UT in Austin around 99, 2000 time, went through the athletic career. And right when I retired after the Olympics, 2012, I thought, it's time to turn that chapter and start grassroots in the community where my fiance and I bought the home on East Side of Austin. And I'm thinking there's so much to do, so much work to do in the community. And so I created Raasin in the Sun just to be the light, is to start doing initiatives and inspiring others to come together and to really attract other people that share the passion of the environment and share the passion of art and what it could really do for the community, right? Understanding that there's multiple forms and ways to bring community together and inspire, but art is a platform. It's a powerful platform. And understanding that I can dive in and, mix in with people like Carmen and Jay and really just be myself as a creative, right? And to understand how to create the thing that creates the thing, right? And to have this passion to bring people together, not really knowing how I'm gonna do it, but just understanding the creatives got my back, the community's got my back, and there's just tons of work to be done. And so that's what Raasin in the Sun is about, and that's why we partner very well with the Mosaic Workshop there at Something Cool Studios. And it's just the beginning, right? It's just understanding that vision that we share, that, oh, okay, there's work and this is how we can work together. And so, really looking forward, and echo Jay with the Mural Arts has transformed our lives. What, in 8 months, I think, or 9 months, I mean, they've taught us so much. And so they've been really a blessing. And so I think it's just the beginning now to see what we come up with as we move forward in different ways that we can accomplish our mission.
So the one thing that I want to touch on really quickly is I don't want to assume that people understand just how amazing your name is. And please explain to people the parallel between you being Raasin and you naming this Raasin in the Sun. Can you do that really quickly?
I'll do it really quickly.
Yeah.
To start off, I will say my mom, I had no idea she was going to name me this. This is my real name. But just taking it on, and from where I am, wherever I'm at, understanding how can I impact or inspire others to impact the community and others to be better, and to create an organization that stems from doing good, right? Stems from loving, creating, bringing people together, and understanding how to do that in an organized fashion. Like, that's what Raasin the Sun is about. It's about being a light. And so I don't want to sound religious, but God touched me one day, And we've been, growing ever since. I think people can very much attach to us because we're grassroots and we're, we love doing projects to tell stories, right? And to bring people together. And people see every project that we do is very intentional. And we try to make sure that these projects that they are doing the mission. And so, so that's how Raasin the Sun came about. And that's who we are.
I told you before, like that just couldn't be more perfect. I just can't believe it. The first time I heard, I'm like, I knew that had to be your real name. I'm like, goodness, it's like your mom knew what you were gonna do. I love that.
Bless her heart.
The thing that you mentioned to me, you and Carmen both said that you wanted to make sure that you talked about mural arts during this hour that we have with one another. So I guess my first thing to ask is, like, I know what mural arts has done for my city, but what do you feel like you didn't have in Austin, Texas that mural arts helped you develop? And anybody can answer that. I'm sorry, I'm just throwing it out to all of you.
Yeah, well, something that I really enjoyed from mural arts is like getting to know other artists who are actually doing like what we do, but at a larger scale. So they're working with larger groups of communities. They're teaming up with schools, the students there, people who were recently incarcerated, people experiencing mental illness. And like we work with like smaller communities. I think that the work that we do is really impactful, but also seeing like artists like David and like seeing the scale of their work was just like been so inspiring. And it makes me, and I'm sure Raasin and Jay, feel like, oh, that we're capable of doing that as well. and that we have built these relationships through mural arts where we can ask for help and for advice. And I think that that type of work is what's really needed here in Austin. We have it, but I don't think we have it at that scale.
Yeah, I think absolutely. I agree with all that. And I think Carmen touched on the nationwide network that we meet with, once a month with the other cohorts all around the country, as well as with Mural Arts. It kind of puts everybody in solidarity with one another, and we glean insights of successes and both failures, that other organizations are going through, other communities are having. Because while the situation might be different, it might be air or water somewhere else, or it might be gentrification here in Austin, it might be this or that. There are a lot of parallels. And so I think just learning from one another, being in the room, having these check-ins, it's also been a very intentional time for us locally to build new partnerships and alliances, to kind of seek out folks like our boy Oscar Garza, the East Austin Environmental Initiative. We were familiar with the organization beforehand, but now we're working like intimately together, and we're stronger because of it, because they've got a 25-year history in the exact neighborhood that we're hoping to make an impact in. And so things like that definitely have, this Mural Arts partnership has kind of pushed us off the deep end in a good way, and going to do all those things. And then absolutely modeling like what else we can enact in Austin, like all the different arms of Mural Arts, with the incarcerated individuals coming out of prison, with the trash initiative and all these other things. Like I opened my eyes, like, well, we need to, like, what art programs are available for the local jails here? Maybe there aren't any art programs for the prisoners, for the inmates in outside of Austin. Maybe we need to go and start that up. Maybe we need to be the ones to do that and initiate that. And so it's just been incredibly inspiring and open our eyes to like what could possibly be the next 10 or 20 years of our creative and programming careers, so it's like, I'm infinitely thankful.
Yeah, I think that's an important point to make, that as you do this kind of work, your eyes are always opening. You're always being aware of other things coming in, because I tend to feel like in community work that I was working within a bubble, that you're just looking around and you're seeing, you want to affect so much change, and it's monumental, isn't it? Like the things that you're trying to change in your community, sometimes you look at them and it's just like, it feels insurmountable, but you have to start chipping away at it. But I began to start thinking to myself, like, it's us against the world, until you realize that there are other people in their communities doing the same thing. And then you can reach out to them. It's like, help me do this better, or what can I do differently? And I think that every time I meet someone, like I've met all of you, I think to myself, like, gosh, yeah, you know what? There are still beautiful people out there in this world that want to use this medium to start changing lives. So I think that that's like pushing me into us talking about the mindset of people who want to jump into public art, or people that want to help change their community with these mediums. What do you think are the things that we really need to be mindful of, or that what kind of like sort of like heart condition do you think people need to have walking into this?
Wow, Ginger. So the mindset in this field, in this industry, I will first say that this is a giving type of field, a giving, like you got to give of your time, your talents, your energy, and you got to really be and have a vision, right? To understand what the problems are within the community, and how your platform, your medium, or whatever it is you have to give, how that can really help that problem. And so it's, some people like to say, it's not a lot of money, but I don't see it that way. I see that if you work hard, and if you manifest funding to help solve these problems, I feel like it'll happen, right? It's not going to fall from a tree. You have to really work at it. And I think that's what Jay and Carmen and I established from the beginning, that it's not going to be an easy road. For one, you're going to deal with a lot of people, and understanding dealing with people has challenges, right? In the film festival, we were talking about COVID, and understanding that we were doing a film project, and the interviewees, somebody's gonna say, hey, it's COVID. I'm talking with this mask on. But hey, it's like, they may not understand with the mask on, but it's like, you got to understand where they're coming from and meet them at that place, right? And so that is in a nutshell with community. There's so many different parts that make up a community, and to help really make it resilient, you have to really hear all the voices. And so I think that's really one of the bigger challenges, and the question you had before about how Mural Arts has kind of tied it in, has really helped us to understand how to really tie in all those voices, right? And to meet people where they are. And I think one of the things that we talked about, or that they taught us along this last couple of months, was the community check-in, or the check-in, right? So when we have these meetings with the other cohorts nationally, and then even with the Austin cohort, we're looking to say, hey, how are you doing on a personal level? How are you doing on a familiar level? How are you doing on a community level, right? Like, and so that, to me, in a nutshell, is the ideology, the mentality, and what you have to really bring to this work, right?
I love those words, the ideology. And I love that you're saying you need to meet people where they are. And I think that's so important. We talked about that before. Like I think we continually keep talking about it during these chats, is that, are you placekeeping or placemaking? Because there's a difference, isn't there? And it's really important when you're coming to someone and you're saying that, I want to help out this community. Because I think that our first sort of thought is, gosh, are we making it better to push people out? And it's so important that they realize that we're trying to make this a better community for you to stay in, for you to live in, for you to learn in and grow in.
Absolutely. And I think really that particular point takes a lot of work and effort to really take over that narrative, right? Because it's easy, because every last person on this call is pretty dope. You look awesome, you put out amazing energy, and that attracts people to you. That attracts the incredible work that you're doing, attracts people to you. And so a lot of people say, hey, we don't want these projects to attract more people and displace us. But so now we have to understand intuitively now how to make these projects preserve culture, tell stories, hold space for community people that have been here, be that change, right, that we're wishing to see, really drive that in our mission, right? And so that, to me, separates just willy-nilly putting up artwork, which I don't have a problem with, because some people have to make money that way. But the work that I'm doing, right, the work that I'm doing, like, I have to make sure with the organization that we're honed into the mission there when I do our work.
Like you said, yeah, you're right. There's room for everybody, but you're balancing those scales.
Absolutely.
Could I interject on that too? Because like Raisin's most recent project is Title Resilience. It's huge. Right. It costs 8 panels, and so yeah, I mean, you're living it for sure. And just to go back, I think what we're getting at is we have to build this different model. It's an alternative system in terms of financing projects. Like you were saying, you don't have to be poor to doing this kind of work. You just have to think smart. You have to think differently. You're not going to show up to a 9-to-5 and get a salary, but you're going to write a grant for 3 weeks and then pray. And it's like, but if you put enough of that good energy out there, then yes, something will transpire. And so building this cooperative model instead of a top-down capitalist model, right? So that's the whole, like, that's what we're all talking about right now, but we're trying to figure out how that is. And so we're trying to just model that in our own work. And it takes being a visionary, like I truly believe Raisin and both Carmen are visionaries in their own ways. You have to have a giving spirit. You got to be an empath for sure. Just like support each other and lift each other up, because it's not going to be easy. And we're in uncharted territory a lot of times, and that's scary for people. Where's my rent coming from? Where's my next meal coming from? Because I'm giving so much to this thing that I'm passionate about. But yeah, I think it's definitely possible, and largely thanks to organizations like Mural Arts who have modeled it for 35 years and have had successes in doing so. So we want to just like carry that torch, and do it here.
Yeah, I mean, and I don't want to scare anybody off from walking this path. Like, we have our challenges, but I think that might be nice if we can talk about everybody give me one challenge and one win. Yeah, how about that? Raisin's like, oh, yeah. I mean, because yes, at the end of the day, there are days I go home and I'm like, why did I ever think art was what but then when you get that win, you're just like, oh, this is why I do it. This is why it's worth it.
Carmen, we put you on the spot. You go first.
I'll go for it first. Challenges, I would say, because you're creating in a public space, you have such a large audience. So the challenge would be pleasing everyone, because you can't. I mean, you can try your best and you want to make sure that you create with intention and you think it through. You think like, what's the goal of this piece, this project? Like, what am I trying to say? Who am I trying to inspire? What's the message? What's the cause? And, sometimes you're going to get backlash, and it's happened. And luckily I haven't had anything too bad, but I mean, it does happen and you can't please everyone. But a win is if you can change the mindset of one person, or they're able, let's say like with some of the pieces we've done with the Mosaic Workshop, we're highlighting people of color from that area. And if one person is able to learn about this history of this person, learn their story, for me, that's a win, because they can share that with other people. Or we're able to teach one person how to create a mosaic or help us create this piece of public art. They are themselves are then inspired, and they're also empowered to create their own art, to maybe start doing something like that in their community. We've had people come help us do projects and then later start a project in the school that they work at and things like that. So that for me, that's a win, just getting other people to create and be really intentional and with their work and the subject matter.
Thanks, Carmen. That was amazing. I agree with Carmen in a lot that what she said. I would add on, when you first asked that, Ginger, I thought about our most recent project, Be Well. And Be Well Murals is under at the Lamar Underpass, and it's basically we did a public artist call. Over 60 plus artists applied, and the panel that we had selected 6 artists, and we did it to help bring mental awareness and to uplift people's spirits through the pandemic and coming out of the pandemic, right? And so I would say a challenge would be really initially having and writing this project and trying to create this project, what it would be called, what should everybody focus on in terms of what the message would be, understanding that it would be a ton of people. Carmen calls it the Grand Canyon of murals, that would help to produce this project or make this thing happen. And it was very scary, because everybody's really, really excited at first after the fact that, because they didn't probably know who was going to get picked after the application. And you all know who's going to get picked. We had the initial meeting with the artists and all the staff that worked with that project, and understanding that people kind of lost sight throughout the project, because this is a massive project. It's thinking about, okay, well, it's going to take a lot more time. I heard, hey, this is a lot bigger than what I thought it was going to be. I've heard, all sorts of things. And being in the middle of that project and talking to one of our project managers and saying, we almost there. We got this. Nobody's going to get hurt. I mean, you got people speeding at 70 miles an hour. I mean, we got people dangling, 15, 20 feet in the air on scaffolds. People riding scooters, and there's literally 2 feet a distance from the scaffold in the street. Just praying to God that we finish this, nobody gets hurt. Because when we finish, this is the mission that was started from the beginning of the project. The purpose now can stand, right? And nobody can take that narrative, and so that now we're starting to reap the benefits of people experiencing that place, because it was intentionally written for you to be in that place and be mentally okay, and mentally reminded that rest is necessary, mentally reminded that you need to reconnect yourself, mentally reminded that you should be well, because you're going to be okay. The entire city of Austin will be okay through this pandemic, and we will be resilient. And so that will be the win, right? Just getting through that, journey, right? And getting to that spot that you see when you initially create a project. You see where it can go, and then the challenges happen, but being resilient above the challenges and rising above.
That's a huge project. I mean, when you think about it, none of us were equipped to cope with a global pandemic. 100 years since anything like this is has hit anyone, but also when we're talking about communities of color where it's already a challenge to talk about mental awareness. And now here's something that is affecting everyone, and we're just running around like, well, what do I do with it?
But you know what, Ginger, I think that was a blessing to us because everybody was at the point where, hey, we need something, right? Like, people were walking around with masks, people scared to come out. Everybody was kind of like, not settled.
Mm-hmm.
Not settled. So I think this was an opportunity, really thankful for Jay too. He walked me through the whole project when I had questions and started talking to him about little ups and downs, understanding that, this is something we're bringing to the city, of Austin. And so our message is just to be well, you know what I mean? And so like, I know that's as simple as it gets, but behind the scenes was really, really, really challenging to put together. And so, yeah, it was, I think, just understanding how to look at the positives in a global pandemic and understanding how to use those as, I'm sorry, my dog's gonna act up, but
this is a laid back chat. Dogs, babies, everybody's welcome.
Right. Oh, I want to get her right now. But anywho, understanding how to really capitalize on that. Go ahead, take it away from me, Carmen.
I was just saying your dog has stuff to say about public art as well.
Don't do that.
Super cute. Super cute.
Yeah.
Yeah, Ginger, I mean, I to revert back to your question. I'd say the challenges are few, just, relatively, and the wins are endless and infinite. But Raisin hit the nail on the head is your mindset. Is you look at the challenge like opportunities. You look at the challenges with an open mind, be patient, be flexible, smart, figure it out, and then and ask your friends, lean on your friends, work together. Then the challenges aren't actually as insurmountable, and they're actually just little humps in the road, and social dynamics is one for us. We're always working with volunteers on projects, and we'll have dozens of volunteers on a mural, and they're non-artists, and they're young and old and everything in between, and all different abilities and all different visions sometimes for things. So Carmen and I really have to navigate that. I think for me, that's the biggest challenge, is just navigating the social dynamic of random people coming to our workshops, and still wanting everybody to leave feeling like they, played a hand in it and successful and positive, and like that was a good, environment, and it was a good situation and experience for everybody. But yeah, I'd say that, the wins are like, Carmen said it too, like empowering people with skills and knowledge. Kids that come back 3-4 years later and, I'm in art school now, I'm about to get my degree and go be a graphic designer because of a workshop they stumbled into one afternoon, with their parents kicking and screaming, they didn't want to be there. And then look what happens. It just turns your life around. Like, and you just got to be open for that. Any instance, any experience can really put your trajectory in a totally different direction, for the better, and for better or worse. You got to look at it with the right sort of positive mindset. But as to that, and going back to the money thing, like I've had some really hard times as an artist, but I've also had some of the biggest checks I brought home, and like, it's not an hourly thing at that point. If you're efficient and you're good at what you do, you can reap the rewards of being a creative in this industry. So you just got to work at it and be smart and clever and resilient, and it'll pay off in the long run, I think.
Raisin, I see your finger. What were you going to add to that?
Just adding on to Jay about, I'm going to call it manifesting, right? And so like when you have a goal or you want to do something for the community, or you want to use your creative talents, don't be afraid to go down that road in this industry. Please don't. I will tell you, I've been working in education for 15 years, and I started my own organization. And I'm telling you right now, just recently, I was offered a job, 6 figures, doing what I love with urban placemaking and parks, and I get to do Raisin in the Sun. So it's just understanding that if you stay with it, and you do the necessary things to help grow what you're doing that's in front of you, take care of that's in front of you, like people will see that you're working hard. And so I was able to get from education, which wasn't paying me enough, and to be able to leave. This is my last year leaving, and to do something that I dream of doing, just on a bigger platform downtown, and put everybody that I touch on. It's just amazing, right? It's just hard work does pay off. So I encourage people to really really, we need more creatives and more artists and more people in this field to try to do this work.
Yeah. What can I ask, like, what may have been some of the challenges working within the community? Because I think that part of being able to come in is having them trust you. So how do you build that trust?
Go ahead. I can go on that. So I think trust is earned, right? And so, like, in this day and age, you know, if you show people what you're doing, you're being transparent and sincere about what you're doing, people will follow you. And the other thing I would say is, to me, trust is earned with the community, but also it's about giving, right? It's about showing support. It's not all about you just supporting my project, right? It's about literally me coming and attending, checking in, loving and supporting what you are doing, right? And I'm starting to see that community is omnipresent, right? So community now is citywide, community now is nationwide now, getting involved with mural arts. It's in every medium, right? It doesn't just look like just a muralist, right? It just looks like the cook, right? It looks like the musician. It looks like the person that does design and film. So really understanding, right, that is how you give back is what you will see come back to you, right? Like that's, to me, that builds trust. And that really helps us to connect in a major, impactful way to the community. The community say, you know what? I can lean on them because I know at the end of the day, they've done it for me and I can do it for them.
How about you, Carmen? What would you say?
I mean, I agree with everything that Raisin was saying. And I also think that Raisin should maybe mention some of the other stuff that her organization does as well, because, you know, like beautification, cleaning up, you know, alleys, neighborhoods and stuff like that definitely builds a rapport with the community. And I think that you're building relationships in that way. And also, I feel like with public art and things like that, like you're constantly trying to show people the benefits of art and why they should let you create in their space, and you know, what will it bring to this location, to their business or whatever. And I feel like at this point, I mean, I definitely think that, you know, Raising the Sun's been around for a while, and Mosaic Workshop, we're just kind of getting started. But I think that just everything that we've done, we are able to kind of just build our rapport, and then just, I think people just trust us at this point, and they see the benefits of art. We don't have to really explain it anymore. They see it, they feel it. And people talk about it all the time. And I think right now, with our city is very divided. And I think that art right now is like a great way to bring people out. And, you know, I think also people are just, they've been bored, you know, at home, not being able to do things. And so there's been a lot more like people just walking around to go look at art. I've seen tons of people go on bike rides and go look at art and things like that. So that's bringing people together. That's letting people see the work. And I think in that sense, they, you know, that builds a relationship with the artists in the community, the people organizing any events around that. I know right now there's just a lot of the creative community who's suffering because of COVID, and organizations like Raisin in the Sun were there to support them.
Yeah. Go ahead, Jay. I see you unmuted.
Yeah, I was just gonna say, just to piggyback on both of these things, absolutely, and the consistency and the reciprocity. I think those are very important. You know, Carmen was saying, you know, we're kind of new as a Mosaic Workshop, but we've both been active in the art scene here for 15 plus years, and you know, I think having a regular open studio time for the workshop, et cetera, that people can come in and feel comfortable and welcome and open and make art, like those just being consistent, you know, showing up. Also like quality programming, which Raisin is modeling, which we're trying to do with the Legends portraits. That was another way that we were trying to support local artists that might have been out of work last summer. What was born out of a street art piece that Carmen, myself, and a few others, we came together on day of the memorial of George Floyd, and made portraits. And a few of those ended up out in street art pieces. Carmen's actually ended up at a library here as a permanent art installation. So kudos to the city for actually getting that up permanently. That's huge. But what was born out of that project was a grassroots fundraiser, basically a grassroots public art project to do 16 more portraits of BIPOC female civil rights leaders from Austin and beyond, where not only were we sharing those narratives and working in conjunction with local historians to kind of tell those stories, we're just kind of offering our skills, but then we're able to give 9 artists commissions to produce those works, 9 other artists. So we're able to kind of share that wealth, in other words, and, you know, but drumming it up pretty happenstance, you know, through this one, you know, art installation, but then we kind of carried that through to a project that we're still doing right now. We're doing another 6 portraits. So we're going to be up to 22 portraits now that we're installing all over the city. And so it's just growing and growing because we're able to partner with different organizations, and we're able to hire other artists. And it's just like, we're just kind of facilitating and kind of like, and then standing back, you know, we're like, here's the Mosaic stuff, go, you know, and it's amazing to just set people free in that way. So yeah, I'm really excited at the potential for what we got in store the next couple of years.
I'm excited to do a mosaic piece with the Mosaic Workshop.
It's the place to do it.
My piece is still on that shelf.
I got it. It's waiting for you right there. It's waiting for you. Anybody and everybody can mosaic.
Everybody can. Ginger,
everybody can do
down
it.
Here, Ginger. Yeah, we got a seat for you and a bunch of mosaic.
You know, I'm all for it as soon as it can start traveling. And like, you're going to hear the sounds of summer coming through my window. It is a beautiful day, and I'm in the neighborhood, and people are giving me like a little backdrop to our show today. But what I want to start saying to everybody who's listening in is thank you for spending this hour with us, and we're going to start taking Q&As. So please start dropping them in, and I will ask everybody all the questions. And guys, I'm so shocked. I'm looking over at the chat, and you guys are just like keeping up with people in the chat. So thank you for that too. But the one thing I know that we don't have time to really expound on, but I just cannot stop thinking about, we were in a rehearsal last week, and Raasin mentioned culture massacre. And I cannot believe I'm bringing this up at the end of the hour because it's huge, but I did not want to leave without us touching on what you meant by that.
Ginger,
I know, I'm sorry. It's a huge thing to like try to end with.
Let me tell you though, I'm super glad you brought it up because, and I know Carmen and Jay can attest to this, it is a huge thing that is happening in Austin right now on the east side with the rapid change that's happening, AKA displacement, gentrification, whatever you want to call it. But these people are coming in, tech people from all over, moving in to these historically Black and brown communities, and literally are bulldozing everything down. Like, if you think I'm playing, like it literally, like every month there's bulldozers, there's cranes. I mean, there's no sense of holding space for culture, you know, and preserving what was there, honoring, right? It's like, you can't tell me you go to New Orleans and you're gonna bulldoze everything down and start your own thing. You're not doing that in New Orleans. No, it's not. Why? Because there is a precedence there, a culture stronghold, like, you know, and so I feel like our stronghold is, you know, it's very much unprotected right now. Let's just say that. And I think the culture massacre idea was, you know, because my fiance and I, we attend a lot of civic meetings and zonings, and because that's where a lot of it is happening, right? The zoning has changed and people are moving, developers are moving in here. And so we're able to stop a lot of it at the beginning, where they're looking for community members to stand up for their community. There's nobody there, or at least nobody's listening. And so we're understanding, we're talking to people, hey, what are you going to give back to the community, right? How are you going to preserve this space, right, as much as possible for some remnants of history and culture there? And so there's multiple ways to prevent the culture massacres, right? So you can do it through placemaking, intentional placemaking. You can do it through mural arts, as we've seen multiple organizations and environmental initiatives that you can do. You can restore spaces, keeping the shell, you know, and understanding how to figure out ways to tell the story as the place develops or as it transitions into whatever it's going to be. Keep the shell, you know. And so like literally that is a huge, I don't know if Carmen or Jay want to speak on it, but the culture massacres that are happening here on the east side. I mean, look at 6th Street, Jay, East 6th Street right now. Like it used to be food trucks, old buildings, Hotel Vegas, like all these different awesome places that I would love to bring Ginger to, but I can't, right? Because why? You have tons of apartments and condos and mixed uses that have nothing to do, hold no culture, space for culture and honoring anything, history or anything. So yeah, so that's a little bit about what I meant by that passion I brought, because I know you remember culture massacres or culture vultures, but you really felt that passion that came behind it, because it's a war zone out here when it comes to that.
Yeah, I just put like blinkers on it in my notes. Just I wanted us to talk a little bit about that. And you're right. I think that, you know, I keep saying it during our discussion today, but guys, it does take a lot of learning. And then that's part of the networking that I think that people don't see that we have to do, right? We're either networking for funding, we're networking for partners that we can collaborate with to open our worlds more. But it's also, as you meet people, try and listen more. And I think that's for everyone. Like you want to make that change. So you just run and we do. And that's great. That, don't get me wrong. You know, I love that spirit. But a lot of times what we fail to do is listen to our communities, listen to the people who are trying to help us, because they're imparting wisdom to us as well, right? Like that's the way that we decide, you know, what we're going to do is by coming together and all using our voices. And I keep saying that to people, like, look, I did a lot of reading. I did a lot of sitting with people and asking, like, can I intern? Can I just watch how you talk to your elders in the community? Can I just see how you get this done? Because I wanted to take that back and to implement it into our own initiatives. And I see that each one of you, you know, you're so very responsible, not only with your language, but it seems with your practices. I just want to applaud you for that. And just to let everybody know out there who's listening to us, that's a huge part of it. A huge part of it is listening to your community. I'm going to start just pushing in some of these questions because we're already at 6:18, and I want everybody who's, you know, taking their time to listen to us chat tonight to try to get some of their questions answered. So I think we started touching on this, but Eddie asks, can you mention how public art is an act of protest? And I think that you're touching on that now, but if Carmen and Jay, you guys want to like jump in and add to that as well, that'd be great.
Yeah, sure. So, I mean, I've done projects with the city. I've done projects for commercial space. I've done street art projects. I've done it all. Very different processes for each, right? Some you ask permission, some you don't. And I think there's a place for all of those. I think there's a big place for community engagement. And that's a lot of what the Mural Arts Institute Art Environmental Initiative, that they've been kind of training us on the mural arts process. And we sort of integrate that with the projects we hope to do together as a cohort in Austin in the next year, which is basically listening to the community, just like you said, Ginger, and then responding with our skills, which are visual art, programming, space cleaning, place keeping, etc. But yeah, I think absolutely, like kind of go back to what I said before, we're changing the system, we're changing the way that we work. So anything in contrary to the capitalist system or the hierarchy top-down methodology is a direct act of protest, I think, in this country, right? We're so used to being told what to do. We're used to being led by a leader. We're used to being, you know, just fall in line and like a cog in a machine or whatever. And I mean, it goes back to the Industrial Revolution, even before that. I mean, I feel like every, you know, culture, society in history has developed into that. So I think we are woke, right? We are smarter than that now. We see that it doesn't work. We see that a lot of people are alienated, and you know, it's obviously putting the power and luxury and success and happiness in the hands of a few, and the rest of us are, you know, on the wayside, and that's not cool anymore. So to model this new way of working cooperatively, equally, you know, with equity in the mindset, that's what we got to do. And so I think in creating artwork, creating a small business, whatever your entrepreneurship or whatever your industry may be, if you do that, if you start to do it horizontally, that's an act of protest. And so, I mean, artwork is just one of those ways. But yeah, I mean, Carmen, Raisin, you guys want to talk specifically about murals? I know we got lots of examples there.
Yeah, I just wanted to mention that I love how public art can be a way to protest and be an activist, because not everyone, can be speaking at a protest, or not everyone has the ability to do those things. And I think that it's just a great way to express yourself visually and share, your ideas and how you feel about things that are going on in current events in your community. And like for me, I'm not someone who likes to be like the center of attention, or I don't feel like I'm a great public speaker, but art is a way for me to reach other people and talk about these issues. And I feel like, when you think about posts, like, printmaking back in the day, they printed stuff and put it everywhere, so people could share. Sorry, my dog could share just their feelings on what's going on in their community. And I'm seeing that a lot now, even in digital art through social media as well. And you're able to communicate visually without these barriers of language, or not everyone can afford to go see art in a gallery or in a museum, but if it's out in the public, it's artwork for the people, and they're able to have access to these messages.
Isn't it interesting how we say, like, when we mention public art, we say, art for the people, because it's in this public space. But I'd like to, sort of recognize the fact that for a long time, a lot of that public art was made without our voices. So even though it was in a public space, it wasn't speaking to us.
Yes.
So I think that it's one of those things. I sort of like to dispel that notion that even though it's in the public realm, that everyone is actually understanding it or feeling like it, it means something to their community or to them. And this is what grassroots programs, or, people who just jump up and say, you know what, we're going to create our own. That's what's so special about it, because now we're going to be able to start seeing ourselves in this public sphere. Someone else was saying, like, at what point did you all get comfortable of letting go of the day job? Oh, and doing art is the only thing. So the reason why I'm picking this one is because I think to myself, is like, when I think about why we all created these programs, I'm thinking to myself, like, yo, when did I ever feel comfortable? I just thought I needed to do it, but that's just me. Like, when did you feel comfortable letting go of the day? Does everybody else still have a day job? Because I know I do too. Well, I do.
Well, Jay, you go ahead, because you and I
We're cutting out. We're cutting out this year.
Time.
We're doing the same time. We're making the leap together. I'm holding my hand raising.
We're leaving.
because it's just been snowballing for so long though. And I think I've talked to so many full-time artists who, like, oh, I've been doing it for 5 years, 10 years, 3 years, whatever. There's always this crux of like, I had enough commissions coming in, or I had enough grant money, or I had enough opportunity on the horizon that I just felt okay with that. And yeah, we all need a safety net. We're none of us that bold to just go off, into the unknown without knowing where our next meal is going to come from, like I said. But I think it takes so long of doing 2, 3, 4, 5. I don't know. Some people keep multiple part-time jobs and juggling, but that builds into your passion, because then you take that same momentum and, not that it's a great model, but working like 70, 80 hours a week on what you love to do. You're from morning to night, from when you wake up till you go to sleep. And that is going to show in whatever you really are 100% invested in, right? For us now, it's like the Mosaic Workshop and doing this public art. For Raisin in the Sun and placekeeping in Austin. So I think you're just going to you just got to ride that momentum, and you'll know when it's right. You'll know when it's the right time. But it definitely does not happen overnight. And I don't want to demystify it for anybody. This is very hard work.
Yeah, right. And like you said, it's just to let you know, I think we all do more hours in these jobs than I ever did in my traditional job. But like you said, because I love it, it does not feel like work to me. I'm getting things done.
Mm-hmm.
I'm getting it done for my peoples. And so
Mm-hmm.
I'm excited to put in that extra time. But, I go back to the old day job when I need extra money for these projects. So that's how I work it. Like, if I can have enough money to live on for the year, that's great, doing what I love. But if it's like, oops, we didn't get the funding for that thing, so I'm gonna need to punch in a little bit of time, but I'm more than happy to do that as well.
Yeah. Yeah, just being flexible, being open to opportunities. You know, it might not always be your favorite thing to do. And like, I don't know, I could tell from being an independent artist, I've got to do taxes, I've got to do my website and marketing and stuff might not be your favorite thing if you just want to be out painting all day. So you wear so many hats as basically a small business owner. That's how you got to look at it.
Yeah.
And I think a nonprofit as well, because you're dealing with the dynamics of your board, and you've got to also have a presence, and your branding, and it's like that's all rolled into it.
It's so much. It's so people are just blown away when I say, hey, you have an organization and you work here. It makes you a beast. It really does. Like, you have so many skills and different ways you can go about it, academically. You're able to write grants and do all these other things, and then be the creative too as well. And so I think it was a journey, definitely a journey, a long journey, girl. And I'm just super happy that, I'm closing that chapter and moving into more of what my passion is. Because when you're in your passion, it's effortless, right? It's like, you're just, like, that's what I'm most happy about after feeling like I was in jail for a long time, and so, yeah. I'm not saying that, hey,
public school. Shout out to public school.
We're not gonna say jail. We'll just say that you have to do it, even though you want to do something else, and you are, for whatever it is, stability, it's not time yet, you have to pay the bills, whatever it is that's keeping you, you're being kept somewhere where your spirit wants to be free.
Right.
So however you want to call it, I call it a jail.
It's what term you feel most comfortable with. And now that I'm thinking about terms, I'm looking at this is happening over in the chat. I'm going to say this because I love this, Denise. Thank you. Why not use the term community art, civic art, or socially engaged art instead of public art, since public art has so many connotations? Denise, boom. Thank you for
Denise.
that.
Yeah.
Learning. Okay, because now I'm going to think about that, Denise. Thank you very much. I'm just throwing questions in, guys, because I'm like, we're going to run out of time. I want everybody to feel like they've been fed. Do you think the pandemic has somehow supported the development and spreading of art, or only blocked it?
I think so. My studio mate Fabian today, he's put this very succinctly. For Austin specifically, we were the live music capital of the world. That obviously last March shut down abruptly, right? So it was quiet in the city. Visual art became the noise. We got the attention all of a sudden. And so I don't know, like I've talked to some creatives, and I respect, and there's a lot of service industry folks that had a tough year last year, but I personally had a pretty good year. And I know a lot of other creatives that also were very busy because, for one, they could do their work independently, largely with, in the studio, or you're talking to a wall all day. So that's socially distant, stuff like that. But I think also, like my friend Fabian says, like, it gave it the visual, and so the music was cut out. So it just kind of, Carmen said it before too, social media, people were watching movies a lot more, documentaries. So all this visual content kind of started to take center stage a little bit. So I think it has actually helped visual arts in a way. I mean, we still don't get health insurance as visual artists here, while musicians do. So there's still a lot of inequalities, and we're still a little far behind of the music industry here, at least locally. But I think it has helped on the whole. I don't know. What do y'all's take on it?
I would definitely agree with that, cautiously, right? I think, there's been so much heartache and so many things that have happened, within the communities due to this pandemic. But I think as a whole, what Jay is saying has to be brought to the forefront, because for art, visual art, I mean, our organization has tremendously grown in the last year. Before the pandemic, we were still, we grew this last year. And I mean, you look back, you're like, oh yeah, it was a pandemic. Yeah, it was. We did this through a pandemic, one of our biggest projects, right? And so I think, with that being said, yeah, I think the pandemic was a blessing for a lot of things for the art industry and the community industry, in terms of us getting our messages out and utilizing the arts as a platform to really uplift people and get them through this pandemic.
We have one last question. I cannot believe we got through them all, and we are at 6:30. So Nicole, winner, chicken dinner. You are our last one. So she's asking us about art-centered work and what you might advise educators of all subjects about grading and assessment. And also, how has your work affected your view about the weight in arts, our standards-based learning, the whole system of grading and Nicole, this is a huge question. All right. Do I need to say that again? Because I realize I just parsed that up horribly. I don't, are any of us educators as well? I mean, I guess, yes, we are. We are educators, but did anybody go to school for teaching?
I was in communications at UT.
Yeah, I did communications as well.
I studied sociology.
Okay.
But I've been a teacher, but
well, I think that, yeah, I think
I've been a teacher for a lot of years. I mean, I've never taught in public school, so I can't really speak to that, but I've taught in alternative school settings, and we didn't have number grades. We had evaluations of individual students. We had the luxury of small class size, and so I really got to know everyone, and I was able to evaluate them on basis of like, you know, did you master the content? Did you persevere? What was your initiative like? And things like concepts of like character traits more so than like you could draw good or you can't, you know, like you can draw well or you can't. So I think just, you know, but I know that's not possible at public school when you've got 800 kids, you know, and I've got friends who are public school art teachers, and I just really respect and admire the work they put in, because learning that many kids' names, let alone, you know, grading them effectively would be really challenging. I don't know, Raisin, do you have any grading? Did you have to do grading things?
Yeah, I did. I assessed a lot, you know. A lot of times it was writing, you know, I assessed a lot of writing. I will say this, in looking at youth, particularly secondary schools, high schools, really the missing component is community, right? It's like understanding how to get them out there and helping them to build a relationship with the community, right? And understanding how their arts, their writing, all of that kind of ties into real life things. And I think if I would have been exposed to that earlier, I probably would have skipped out on athletics. I probably would have went right into what I'm doing, but it took me a while, right?
Yeah.
So I think understanding creatives like that, that's walking around the high school, you know, understanding how to really get them early on, getting them down that path. Right.
And Nicole is saying to me, she was like, oh, I'm sorry, Nicole, anti-carceral. So she's like also thinking about how we value things and assign value to student work. Sorry, Nicole, I missed that.
Yes.
So yeah, I mean,
that's really challenging. So I feel like there's no standard guideline. I feel like that's why whenever I was in college and I was taking art classes, I was having fun. I thought I was creating great work, and then I'd get these grades that were bad. You know, and that totally discouraged me from creating. So I think maybe just, I don't know, valuing work by like, I don't know, like how much the artist puts into it, not necessarily the outcome.
Effort. Yeah. Effort.
Yeah.
Like, not everybody's gonna do the worksheet the same way. You know, you're gonna have 10 different, like I've got you know, students on the spectrum or different ability students, and their work isn't gonna be like technically as advanced as another student. Doesn't mean it's not valuable. We've got to just learn to see the effort that they're putting in, and, you know, meet them where they're at, and not necessarily try to change their voice either, trying to encourage what they're trying to say. So it's a very different model, and it's not traditional. In public school ain't having it because you got to standardize everything. And so that's what, again, why I say it's like it's systemic sweeping changes that need to be made, and it's slow coming, but there are people out there doing those kind of things. So
I was just about to say that, like, I'm sorry, Nicole, that I saw your very weighty question at the end of our conversation, but if you feel comfortable sharing your email address, I can think of a couple of projects that I have seen that have addressed this, and then I can send those links over to you if that's okay with you. Make sure that we get you some information on that. I'm assuming that you're a teacher. Guys, yo, it is 6:34. This is our hour. I am so excited that we got a chance to talk to everybody. I'm excited about me getting down to Austin and meeting all of you, getting a tour. I'm coming. I mean it.
Yes.
It was amazing. I'm just gonna say, you know, like, yeah, I'm gonna go ahead. Don't let me chat it up. Everybody say your goodbyes.
You guys are awesome. Thanks for staying on the call with us and listening. I felt the energy the entire time. Ginger was amazing moderating, made us feel really, really comfortable. And then Jay and my partner Carmen are just, yeah, they're just like family to me. So I'm always eager and very honored to stand on the panel with them.
I love you guys.
Victoria's
You guys are awesome.
gonna send out a beautiful newsletter that's gonna have information from all of us to all of the attendees today. So we'll get that out to you, hopefully within the week. So if you guys want Victoria to mention anything that we talked about tonight, make sure you shoot those emails over to her so we can get out to this lovely audience. But
Will do.
it's been amazing. And we're getting our music. Woo.
Thank you so much, y'all. Have a good night.
Thank y'all.
Bye.
Keep up the art. Keep up the art. Be safe out there.